When the Queensland Reds gathered at Ballymore this week, the air was thick with the kind of expectancy that usually precedes a season-opening clash, but the real bombshell dropped before a single ball was kicked. In a move that has sent tremors through the Australian rugby landscape, Les Kiss stepped onto the podium to confirm that the captaincy of one of the nation's most iconic franchises had been stripped from its incumbents and handed to a new sole leader. Fraser McReight, the superstar open-side flanker, has been anointed as the man to lead the Reds into the 2026 Super Rugby Pacific campaign. The shock factor wasn't just the change itself, but the fact that it was actually the former skipper, Tate McDermott, who reportedly suggested stepping aside to allow a fresh voice to take the reins. As the news broke, the rugby public immediately looked toward the gold jersey, convinced this was the first move in a grand plan to overhaul the national leadership ahead of the 2027 World Cup. The fallout from this decision is already reshaping the narrative of the 2026 season, and you need to be in the room for every tactical shift and locker room whisper. If you want the fastest, most detailed breakdowns of how these leadership changes impact your team and the Wallabies' future, hit that subscribe button right now. We are tracking every press conference and contract detail in real time. This is All Sports Updates, your home for the unfiltered truth behind the game. Les Kiss was remarkably blunt when addressing the swirling rumors that this appointment was a direct instruction from the national setup. With the coach set to transition into the Wallabies head coaching role later this year, the media was quick to assume that elevating McReight was a strategic play to prepare him for the Test captaincy. However, Kiss shot those theories down with clinical precision, insisting that the decision was strictly about the Queensland Reds and their specific needs for the upcoming season. He emphasized that Harry Wilson remains the incumbent Wallabies captain and that there has been zero indication from the national hierarchy that a change is on the horizon. The coach made it clear that McReight's elevation is a recognition of his world-class pedigree as a player and his evolution as a senior figure within the Brisbane camp. It is a move designed to simplify the leadership structure at a time when the club is desperate to break their quarter-final curse and return to the summit of Super Rugby. The logistics of the change are just as fascinating as the politics, particularly with Tate McDermott's current injury status playing a hidden role in the timing. The star halfback is currently battling a ruptured hamstring suffered late last year, an injury that has his availability for the opening rounds of the 2026 season under a massive cloud. While McDermott remains a vital component of the Reds' DNA, his absence from the field would have made a co-captaincy model under Liam Wright's departure almost impossible to manage effectively. By appointing McReight as the sole captain now, Kiss is ensuring that the squad has a consistent, singular point of authority throughout the grueling pre-season and the critical early stages of the competition. McDermott has reportedly been incredibly supportive of the transition, even acting as a mentor to his successor as they navigate the complexities of leading a young and ambitious roster. This is All Sports Updates, where we dive into the strategy behind the silver lining appointments. Fraser McReight himself has been quick to distance his new role from any immediate Wallabies ambitions, proving why his temperament is so highly regarded by the coaching staff. The 26-year-old flanker, who has already amassed nearly 40 Test caps, was adamant that his focus is entirely on the maroon jersey and the teammates he has battled alongside for 8 seasons. He spoke with immense respect about Harry Wilson, calling him one of his best mates and reiterating that they have a partnership built on mutual support rather than rivalry. McReight's leadership style is expected to be a blend of the calm, professional wisdom he observed under Liam Wright and the fierce, ultra-competitive edge that defines McDermott's game. He isn't looking to reinvent the wheel, he is looking to steer it with a more direct hand. For a player who has already won 2 Player of the Year awards, the captaincy is the final piece of the puzzle in his quest to become the complete rugby professional. Despite the coach's denials, that implied pressure on the Wallabies leadership cannot be entirely ignored by the fans or the pundits. Whenever a player of McReight's caliber is handed a leadership role, especially by a coach who will soon be making national selection calls, the external noise will naturally intensify. If the Reds start the 2026 season with a string of dominant victories under McReight's captaincy, the calls for him to lead the Wallabies will become deafening. This creates a unique tension within the Queensland squad, where the Reds captain and the Wallabies captain are now essentially competing for the ultimate leadership prize while wearing the same colours. It is a high-stakes psychological game that Les Kiss will have to manage carefully to ensure that the individual ambitions of his stars don't undermine the collective goals of the club. The internal dynamics at Ballymore are about to become the most watched storyline in the Southern Hemisphere. The Reds roster for 2026 is arguably the most balanced it has been in a decade, featuring a mix of seasoned veterans like Luck and Saleh-Kaloto and exciting new recruits like Carter Gordon. By installing McReight at the helm, Kiss is signaling a shift toward a more mobile, high-intensity style of play that matches the flankers' own work rate. The statistical profile of the team suggests they are ready to pivot from being a side that simply competes to a side that dominates the transition phases of the game. McReight's ability to influence the breakdown and force turnovers is legendary, and as captain, he will be expected to set the defensive standard for a pack that has sometimes lacked clinical finishing. The appointment is as much about tactical identity as it is about moral leadership. It tells the competition that the Reds are leaning into their strengths as an aggressive, front-foot team that won't be intimidated by the powerhouses from New Zealand. The reaction from the Queensland faithful has been overwhelmingly positive, with many seeing McReight as the natural heir to the great Reds captains of the past. There is a sense of romanticism in seeing a player who came through the local ranks and led the junior Wallabies to a world final now taking charge of his home state. For the fans, it represents a commitment to the future and a rejection of the stopgap leadership models that have plagued the club during leaner years. As the team prepares for their trials against the Western Force and the Waratahs, the spotlight will be firmly on how McReight handles the officiating and the high-pressure moments that define a skipper's tenure. If he can maintain his elite individual form while managing the emotional temperature of the group, the Reds might finally have the missing ingredient to go all the way in 2026. We are witnessing the start of a defining chapter for both Fraser McReight and Les Kiss as they embark on this final Super Rugby journey together. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Queensland Reds captaincy shake-up, make sure to let us know in the comments if you think McReight is the right man for the job or if McDermott should have stayed in the role. We have a massive season of rugby coverage planned, including exclusive insights into the Wallabies transition later this year, so stay locked in right here. This has been All Sports Updates, your #1 source for the stories that matter in the world of rugby. Thank you for your support, and we will see you in the next video when we break down the first team sheets of the 2026 pre-season. Until then, keep your eye on the ball and the passion in the stands. Would you like me to analyze the Reds' opening round lineup and how the new leadership might affect their tactical approach against the Waratahs?